the Shared Governance Proposal Task Force meeting. This is a town hall where we're just going to share out what we have worked hard on using your suggestions from the Shared Governance Summit, as well as the surveys that have gone to campus. So I'm Jennifer Natoli. I am a Guided Pathway Advisor 1 over at Manchester, and I sit on the College Senate as a staff senator. And also here we have Al Vandermark, Jason Seabury, Alan Bollinger, Mark Lynch, and Hannah or Moko Reiki, who are sitting on the shared governance. So I think this would be a good time to start. Alan, do you want to take it?
Sure. Welcome, everyone. I'm Alan Ballinger. I'm a professor of history and political science at Gateway Community College. And it's been a pleasure to work with my colleagues here. So in just a moment, we're going to be sharing a PowerPoint about these governance proposals. I think, questions are certainly welcome, questions and comments. You can put those into the chat, as well as following the presentation. People are free to ask questions directly. So is that how you've done it in the other meetings, Al? Yes, okay, great. So very quickly, hopefully most of us are aware of the current CT state governance process. We have two primary branches. We have campus senates or shared governance bodies at most campuses who choose representatives to the CT State College Senate. And then we have a CT State Curriculum Congress, but that gives final approval, at least before going up to the Board of Regents. But prior to that, we have statewide discipline groups that grouped together disciplines that are sometimes loosely related, but not necessarily directly related. That's where curriculum basically originates. It gathers feedback from campuses and then makes any appropriate edits and then passes it on to the school area curriculum committees, who then do more of an interdisciplinary review before sending it to Curriculum Congress. So I think that's probably good enough. We did a large survey of the entire college, faculty, staff, and administrators, basically asking for specific feedback about what changes might be made, and I'll go through those as we proceed. One of the strongest changes that was recommended was to revise the curriculum review timeline. Basically, it takes about a full semester to get a new course or program approved, and that's in an ideal situation. That was a concern. Also, there was a concern about not every campus has local shared government. Some dissolved theirs following the consolidation. And so one of the questions we want to take on is whether we should formalize that. There was strong sentiment for removing the school area curriculum committees, and also for having more discipline-specific college-wide curriculum groups than the current SDCs. So that's a quick overview. I think the next slide is also kind of an overview of some of the changes. Yes, the college-wide discipline groups will involve all faculty in weighing in on new curriculum. So for a visual, these are some of the proposed changes or options that we have. Right now, there were no suggestions for changes to the College Senate. We have 3 representatives per campus plus student and at-large representation. As I mentioned before, on local campuses, some campuses do not have shared governance. Others have equally weighted faculty and staff bodies that can sort of cancel each other out. So the proposal we're making would be a campus senate or something akin to that has representation from both faculty and staff on that campus. And although the exact form of that, et cetera, the details would not be mandated from above, at least the mandate would require that each campus have such a body. Currently, Curriculum Congress is comprised of 3 faculty representatives from each of the 6 schools, plus at least 1 representative per campus. So if no one is elected from a particular campus, then that campus gets to have a voice on the Curriculum Congress. So currently there's 17 plus reps. That, again, we'll get into the weeds on that a little bit more. That is a reduction from what we currently have. Actually, this is sort of a projection to next year when we go down to 4 schools. And the proposal is to have 4 faculty reps per school. Again, minimum of 1 per campus, with some additional specifics that I'll get into in a moment. Again, large sentiment for eliminating the school area curriculum committees. Of course, we could choose to keep it as it is. There would be 4, since we're going down to 4 schools. But one of the options is to replace those with a campus curriculum committee on each campus. And I know that I do remember even prior to the consolidation, when we met with President Meduco, this was something that a lot of campuses were pushing for, to have local curriculum committees review curriculum. The second option to replace the SACs is to have a second meeting of Curriculum Congress each month, what would be called a developmental meeting, where they could, after eliciting feedback and maybe a two-week period, something like that. Jason, is that?
Oh, I just realized I was muted. Yeah, we can. It has more details in that slide, so we can get to it in a few minutes.
Wait, as we get into the later slides, sure, okay. But there would be a second meeting of Curriculum Congress. This would also offer the option of fast tracking some proposals. And then replacing, either keeping the statewide discipline councils. There are currently 27, although I don't think any campus has representatives on all 27, but those are the groupings. To replace those with 2 bodies. And the option is which of those bodies has voting power. There would be college discipline councils, which would be 1 representative from each discipline per campus, as well as college discipline groups that would involve all the faculty from each campus. So, for example, Elle and I both teach history, so we might end up both being representatives on the College Discipline Council. But there are other faculty teaching history, at least 1 more full-time at Gateway, and there may be at Asnuntuck as well. And so they would be involved in the latter, this college-wide discipline groups. Okay, I think we can move on. So specifically, no proposed changes to the College Senate. And again, yeah. But we are proposing or asking for an option that all campuses do have an umbrella campus senate with majority membership consisting of faculty and staff leadership. Members of the College Senate should be ex officio or formal members of this body. Basically, again, it is sometimes problematic if campuses do not have shared governance or not a clear overarching body that makes final decisions. And so this would address that.
Alan, can I say one more thing?
Please.
that so one of the challenges that we have with the current structure is that sometimes we do not have an individual, so a chair or a president of a campus senate to reach out to when some kind of action is needed. And that means that we have to rely upon CEOs or deans to help us get the word out or to collect information. That works better at some campuses than others, and sometimes we just simply don't get a response. Mm-hmm. So in addition to various levels of effectiveness of campus senates, as Alan said, some of them function well and properly. Others, we have competing equal right. Campus bodies, and there's not a clear group or individual or representative group to send something to. And that's really the gap that option B tries to fill.
Right. And I think, I'm not sure if it's on the next slide or not, Jason, but I know with this option B, we have said that, we would suggest bylaws, maybe recommend bylaws, et cetera. But for like a campus like Gateway, we have a pretty extensive shared governance document and structure, so I think President Meduco has taken the position that each campus, should organize shared governance as it wishes. Some have elected bodies, some are, full democratic, direct democracy, where everyone has a vote. And I don't think we're trying to dictate that. We're just saying that there should be one overarching body at each campus. Yeah. Okay.
So if anyone has any questions about the proposal for campus senates, this might be a good time to pause and ask for questions, sure. And then we can continue with the curriculum side proposals.
I don't see any hands up. Does anyone have anything?
Andrew posted it in the chat. He says, I like option B, so.
Anyone else?
Okay. See a thumbs up.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving along.
All right. This is again more focused on the curriculum side, but I think we've already showed this slide. So let's focus on Curriculum Congress. So right now there are 18 members, right? 3 faculty representatives per school in the 6 schools, plus, each campus is guaranteed representation. So representation is, variable based on who gets elected. But I don't know, how many members are there currently, Jason, right now in Curriculum Congress?
So at 3 representatives per school for 6 schools, and then the staff positions and a couple other statewide positions, and the additional 1 minimum per campus. I think we're at 25 now, if I recall.
All right, thanks. So 2 issues. If no change is made, that number is going to shrink because there are then going to be 4 schools rather than 6, right? And secondly, as you can see in the second bullet point, there's no mechanism to prevent imbalanced membership. So you could have all 3 STEM reps be math, right? With none from science or engineering. That can be true in any of the schools. So option B basically says, well, why not have 4 faculty representatives per school? That brings us to 16 elected reps, elected faculty reps. And again, considering for the additional staff members and making sure each campus is represented, probably the number will end up being very similar, right? Maybe not exactly the same, but probably very similar. But the other part of the proposal is to allow one of those 4 per school, 1 representative from each of 4 general discipline areas within each school. Now, when we're voting on this, when Senate is voting on this, we're not going to get into the weeds of that. I think Curriculum Congress has approved option B. And if I understand correctly, according to their bylaws, they have the right to make changes to the composition of their body. So I think the Curriculum Congress would, over the course of the rest of this semester, probably decide what those groupings would be, right? But again, just to ensure the broadest possible representation on Curriculum Congress. Is that, and I do want to defer to Jason, who's chair there. Is there any additional information to be included?
No, that's about right. Thanks.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Glad I got it right.
You passed the test, Ellen.
I'm only halfway through, Al. It says slide 9 of 12. So again, there was widespread sentiment both among shared governance leaders and from the survey that to eliminate the school area curriculum committees. Of course, if no change was made, we would move from 6 to 4. But the two options to replace the SACs would be with campus curriculum committees that would provide feedback. And I think, if I understand correctly, that feedback would go to right, we haven't gotten to this step yet, but currently it would go to the statewide discipline councils or to the college discipline groups, correct? Yep, okay. The second proposal would be to replace the SACs with a developmental meeting of Curriculum Congress. It would incorporate feedback from the campuses, which could include campus curriculum committees, but it doesn't mandate campus curriculum committees, as I understand. So, and this would allow for a quicker turnaround in terms of some curriculum proposals, in that some are minor changes, and so they could be fast tracked, right? So that basically within a month's time, I think you could have a proposal moved ahead to the Curriculum Congress. Is that correct? Again, Jason, I'm pretty sure that's the timeline.
Yeah, so if a proposal, it may take a proposal months worth of work within that discipline group to make sure that everyone is on board and that it makes sense for that discipline. But once it's approved at the discipline level, then yes, it would go to that development meeting of Congress, and if there are no issues or major revisions needed, it could be fast-tracked and immediately approved at that meeting and forwarded to the provost. And if it needed revision, then it could be sent back to the SDC or whatever SDCs are replaced with. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you. So, and again, this option C, the developmental meeting of the Curriculum Congress, does not prohibit, again, campus departments, campus curriculum councils or committees from reviewing and providing feedback. It does not circumvent that step, but it does kind of fast track it. I think it's would allow for probably more like a 2-week turnaround rather than a full month's turnaround, something like that. And it doesn't mandate those campus curriculum committees. So,
yeah, and one important thing to note here, while this one would incorporate the campus feedback, it wouldn't have campus level review as again, like a mandated official part of the process, which also means that if a campus doesn't like a thing, they might not have a formal way of having that not liking logged. Whereas the campus curriculum committee option would, with enough do not endorse votes there, a proposal would be automatically stopped. But yeah, that's
And I think one of the other vulnerabilities that was raised yesterday is that when campus feedback is not formalized, when we don't have a campus curriculum committee, then the degree to which deans allocate either AR or release time is really uneven, if at all. And so the vulnerability in this option is the uniformity with which campuses are able to utilize a feedback process. Did I restate that properly, Jason?
Sure.
And just so I'm clear as well, as I'm, this and the final stage are both a little complicated, right? So you're saying that campus curriculum committees, if say you did not get a majority to endorse a proposal, as written, right? That in fact would necessitate going back to the SDC for revision, right?
Yeah.
But under option C, if you don't mind jumping back there, you could get feedback from the campuses, but it wouldn't. Basically, Curriculum Congress would have the option of incorporating that or not, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So I think option B, it seems, does give more weight to the feedback from the campuses, if I'm correct.
Exactly.
Great. Okay.
So let's just see, does anyone have questions on that?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer.
On this before we move on to the next? I don't see any hands up or chat. Okay, it looks like, oh, nope, go ahead. It looks like no one has questions at this point.
Rose has a question. Rose,
Rose,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm not sure if it's the right time here because you keep referring to the SDC. So I'll table it, but until we get to, you're not there yet, right?
That's correct.
Next two
We're
slides.
headed there
I'll
next.
wait.
Next two slides. Rose.
It's woven into this one, but all right.
Well,
I'll wait.
it says SDCs or replacements.
Yeah,
And that replacement is what we're getting to next. Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk about it then.
And I think Mark has a question too.
Mark,
Well, I
go
don't have a
ahead.
question. I have a comment.
Mhm.
Is again, maybe I'm a little touchy, but it seems like there's a leading towards one by the people who have been speaking compared to the other. So I just want to throw in there and try to make it maybe a little more neutral and say both options have advantages and both options have disadvantages. Because option C, although there's not as much local control, it does allow for the ability of the possibility of a fast tracking of a proposal where it could get through a little faster. On the other hand, B then allows for more control, but then there's no ability for things to move through the process a little faster through the typical 7-8 week process. So as people look at this, they have to look at the advantages and disadvantages of each. And again, I remember at our first one, and it didn't come up just yet because it was something that Jason had said, this is not an all or none. This is choosing each of 4 possibilities. So you could choose option A for one, you could choose option B for another, you could choose option C for a third, so it's not all option A or all option B or all option C. It's the way Jason put it, it's multiple choice. You can pick and choose what you think is the best out of each of the 4 possibilities where there are options.
Oh, you're talking about the entire proposal.
Yeah.
The
All
entire
four-
proposal. Again,
all of the
there's
proposals, right.
4 options
Yeah.
where there's multiple places to choose. So it's not all or one, all of one and not any of the others. You can kind of piecemeal your choices.
Yeah, those are both excellent points, Mark. Yeah, so there are so in this particular section addressing the school area curriculum committees, there are positive benefits to both option B and both option C. And, campuses can decide, we don't want to mandate local shared governance, but we do want to make a change on the curriculum side or vice versa, right? So all of those, this is not a all or nothing for sure. Each one of these, I think, should be voted on each campus. Yep. Yeah, those good points.
They're not voting at the campuses. This is an important point.
Yeah, I was going to get there, but go ahead.
Okay. All right. We're ready.
I was going to finish with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is what Rose was asking about. So first option A, no changes. We keep the SDCs, which are grouped in related disciplines, but not necessarily discipline specific. Option B is to create 50 to 100 college discipline councils. We want one representative per campus, department chairs and program coordinators where possible. This would be woven into their duties and their compensation. I imagine there are some campuses where that's not possible, and where there may be faculty who would get AR or compensation for serving on these college discipline councils. Am I correct in stating that, Al?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And it also creates college discipline groups made up of all full-time faculty teaching courses in that discipline and meeting several times per semester. And we are by contract required to work on curriculum. So again, there would not be compensation for these college discipline groups, I do believe. And is that correct? Like
yes,
we weren't compensated
would,
for the APRC process we went through, right, Al, for history?
I'm going to let Jason ferret this out because I think there are some nuances that he is really steeped in.
Okay.
Yeah, so according to union contracts, and this is true for 4Cs and AFT both, we are required to attend department meetings and division meetings and like all college meetings as part of our contract. So this would essentially just make a department that would be statewide. But it's important to note the distinction. We're not proposing eliminating local departments because there are items that still require local control. For instance, evaluation of faculty, selection of your schedules, and things of this nature. But when it comes to curricular issues, what we're seeing is a lot of different silos of conversations happening without really effective communication across the discipline. So what this would look like would just be all faculty, if you're in a discipline, would be required, instead of doing like a local department meeting in a particular month, maybe that month you meet with all members of your discipline instead. This is something that the provost is already strongly pushing for this semester to be implemented. She's directed the school deans to try to get all faculty in each of the discipline areas in their schools together and like make them meet. A part of this proposal is taking ownership of that group and not just having it administrators that are organizing it, administrators that are running it with a kind of an administrator agenda, but instead have it within our governance structure, our shared governance structure, with faculty being involved in the leadership. So that's the idea here. And the chairs would need their job descriptions adjusted and possibly compensation. All of this, part of the impetus of getting this done within the next month or two is because of union negotiations. So that might be involved there. But So the department chairs and or any faculty that are kind of the main faculty at that campus that are doing that thing. And again, what we're not proposing is department chairs to take precedence. So if you have like a science department chair, but they're a horticulturist, we're not saying, yes, they're going to be the physics representative. If there's a physics faculty at the college or at the campus, you would be the person on the CDC. We want to get the people who teach the discipline together in the most efficient way to do that, and that's the idea here. But it wouldn't require any additional contract stuff for the CDGs. It's just a statewide department meeting essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. That's more or less what I thought.
So
We're
I'm
going
gonna
to
go
for
to
Rose.
Jen,
I
we'll
want-
go to Rose once Alan's done presenting on this slide.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say,
Okay.
Rose. I just want to finish with these two other options and then definitely get your question and your input. Rose is my friend and my colleague, so definitely don't want to ignore her. So this is proposing both of these groups and then one of two options. First is the college discipline groups are simply for communication, talking, brainstorming, coming up with curriculum proposals. And it would be the College Discipline Council that approves curriculum. The second proposal is that you would reverse those roles. The CDC rep would be for communication and, perhaps developing curriculum, but it would be all faculty in the college discipline groups in a particular discipline who are voting for approval. So, new course proposals, again, need 2/3 vote of all faculty, modifications or discontinuations, at least a majority vote. All right, Rose.
All right, I've got about 3 different things.
Sure.
First, page 7 of the language in terms of the going from 27 to 50 to 100. All right, I'd like this one sentence to be eliminated further down of being included as part of chair PCDC responsibilities. So this proposal saves significant amount of money for the college. This is not our scope. Fiscal should not be our scope here. And second, that is a contractual issue. We should not be voting on that now. It goes against the present contract. I think that should be eliminated. I'm a PC, all right? And in the business area, our chairs and PCs, we cover so many areas. It gets into my second comment, 50 to 100, that's quite a span. I don't know how that can be managed or executed in terms of just the number of meetings, the logistics, and people who have to be at multiple meetings at the same time. And I think it's premature, because the colleges, we're now into 4 colleges, and we're not even totally sure which programs are going to be under it. I do appreciate all the work that you've done on this. Please, I don't mean to be, critical here, except I'm making constructive, comments. What's missing here too, and Elle, it was something that I had talked to you about at some meeting to begin with the survey, that the SDC had words of evaluation. I'm on SDC, was on the founding one, and our scope is only to look at proposals. It has been over and over asked of us to do more. And so there isn't the innovation here of curriculum development. The governance is the proposals once they're done. And I have a hard time. We've put through some. I'm on SDC and I've also authored some. And when you're developing it or even putting a proposal through, it might be authors from different campuses. And so some of your own local curriculum is a challenge because we're one college. It's a program now for the college. For example, we've got one in the hopper now of accounting. that we just made one modification. I did it with Jen Oliver from Quinnebog, and we just changing a requirement to an or, because some of the colleges before the merger had an or. And so, our process was going to each of the colleges, to those accounting people, and making sure that everybody signed off on that. I just don't know how cumbersome it's going to be, all right, to have these campus meetings, or maybe I just, don't understand the process. But what I'm really concerned about is the innovation of curriculum development. None of these committees should be part of this. All right, we are just now going through the governance process of once the proposal triggers all of this. There is no mention, and it probably shouldn't be, but yet we've got to consider the logistics of it.
We just lost your audio, Rose.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I lost my screen. As long as you can still hear me, that's fine. So I don't know where that gets put in here. Okay. The administrative structure, all of a sudden we get a bomb, this last week. Oh, now we're back to presidents. We don't know where some of this authorization is to be innovative, to develop new curricula, to get to that point of proposal. Do we address that? I'm not sure. I just think this is premature at this time because we're in such a state of flux.
If I could just address the like you're mentioning the accounting proposal. That's what this college discipline group would be. Like, I don't think if you're not teaching accounting as a PC, you wouldn't be required to serve on multiple, groups here. It would be just the people that do teach accounting.
Alan, the reality is we have not had a full-time accounting person for years now at Gateway. I'm interim accounting because one of my, degrees is in accounting and I've taught it, but we don't have a full-timer. A lot of our areas are supported with part-timers, or, Ann Williams teaches one, Don Walker teaches one. It seems idealistic, but realistically, we've got a lot of positions that have not been filled. It is going to fall on the shoulders of us because there isn't anybody else.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to defer maybe to Jason or Elle in terms of that concern. I don't know what this. I would say that Ann Williams, if she is a full-time faculty, and if she's teaching one accounting course,
but
then
she teaches finance, she teaches accounting, she teaches economics, she teaches management. We don't have the luxury of having one person in every area. Everybody is expected in many cases to be not a generalist, but to be able to cover some different areas.
Jason, can you start and I'll fill in any gaps that have been asked along the way?
Sure. So there were a number of concerns there that I can address one point at a time, and also I should just make clear that this is a group of faculty that are trying to patch the holes in a system that none of us had a hand in creating. So I'm not advocating for, I think what we have now is not great. And I think what we're proposing is an improvement, but still going to need a lot of attention here. So to address the concern, because we heard this at one of the other town hall about the issue of overlap. One thing that I pointed out in that other meeting was that if proposals are if disciplines are logically grouped together, neither Senate nor Congress nor the task force is a group that's just going to say you have to meet with you and you have to meet with you. We're going to put this out to the disciplines and starting at the SDCs, but also just asking faculty across the state, who are the people that would be most useful for you to be meeting with to develop curricula? And if it makes sense in some areas to lump a few disciplines together because a lot of faculty are teaching one and also the other, then it would actually just make sense for those different
Jason,
discipline areas. Yeah, go ahead.
Jason, can I ask for clarification here?
Sure.
You use the term developing curriculum. That's another issue. All right, what we're talking about here is the trigger point of it's already been developed. We have a proposal for new something or modification.
Mm-hmm.
The development is, this does not address it, and it shouldn't address it. We know who we need to get together if we're trying to develop curriculum. They're our colleagues.
So at the moment, and this is an issue that we've seen in Congress repeatedly, we know who we want to develop curricula with locally. But speaking like as a math professor, the people that I know in math are mostly the people at my campus that teach math. And without a meeting of all math faculty, and now obviously in discipline areas like English and math with a lot of faculty in them, the idea of a college discipline group, if you get all math faculty in a room, in a virtual room, it is going to be hundreds of people, and obviously the running of those meetings would need to be it would be challenging, but at the moment, curricula are developed in silos in the campuses,
But can I
without input from the other people in your discipline.
Okay, can I stop 1 second? That
Sure.
is not true in some of the areas. For example,
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay, it might be, but we have a work group. We have an accounting work group
And that's
that we came up with, and there's, this change that I'm putting through. So it wasn't, in a silo. So I guess, it's not universal across the campus, but we do have that in place. There are work groups.
I would say that,
That's
Rose,
the CDG. That's the CDG, right?
a few disciplines have those work groups, but because it is not universal, the college-wide discipline groups, whether we're talking about B1 or B2, will make it universal. And the provost is already moving towards this.
But then
So
that's a work group. That's a work group, and in the present model, that would come before SDC. Somebody on the work group or everybody puts together a proposal. So how does that fit in the model now?
It actually fits in B2 because it formalizes meetings that and this is what Jason said earlier. The provost is moving towards this. The area deans are going to be implementing it. What this seeks to do is put the leadership of that and the agendas in the hands of faculty as opposed to administrators. So college-wide discipline groups for the approval piece, for the development of proposals, that would happen in B2. In B1, those college-wide discipline groups, they're still going to meet, but it's for communication pieces only.
Well, it would also be to develop curriculum, right? They could make curriculum proposals.
Oh,
But that's different. It's different. The proposal triggers the governance process.
Yeah, so Rose, these options get rid of the SDCs.
Right.
So they're replaced. And this would be exactly what you're talking about, that the accounting faculty develops a course proposal and they send it to campuses and to Curriculum Congress. There's no more SDC, no more SAC under this, option.
Which one? 2 or B1 or B2?
Either one.
Both.
Yeah, I just think it's too, the logistics of it, it's just, I can't process it and put a flow chart of 50 to 100 similar SDCs and how that reporting goes. And unless we have software, we've got these black boxes where things just go into an email.
So this isn't related to our proposed changes because this doesn't require approval from the campuses, but it is worth noting to address the question that you just raised, that we are looking at implementing Curriculog software this spring. It's going to be phased in slowly, but the idea would be that there will be software that will help manage the proposal flow, and I'm actually excited about the options there.
And so to your point, Rose, about the black box where things just kind of disappear, Curriculog is workflow software, which would prevent things just going into space and never being addressed again.
Yeah, we're familiar. I mean, that was told to us by Mike Stavanovich, to begin with, in spring of 23, that was going to be in place, I think, of fall of 23.
Yep.
Hannelore has her hands up, and then I wanted to make my concluding statement.
We also have Jen Oliver.
I don't think I have my hand up.
I do. Yeah. I'm a different Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Go ahead, Jen.
Rose and I felt the pain of the approval work group process quite a few times as we managed through our SDC. And I have a lot of concerns and I came in late to the meeting, and perhaps you tried to assuage these concerns a little bit. I know you've talked about it now, but I see that number 50 to 100 CDCs and 1 rep per campus. I'm on a small campus. There are 2 of us. I mean, help me understand how that workload is going to be monitored and managed, because I'm drowning already. I mean, I'm doing all the work I had to do before as a PC at my home campus, and now I have to get buy-in from everybody else. And, of the 3 proposals I put through, only 1 of them has made it because we have no direction and we can't get consensus, and people don't want it on their campus, so they vote no. And my whole proposal and all my work that I've done gets shot down. And I'm just very concerned that some of the larger groups, like math and English. I mean, you've said, Jason, there's, hundreds of people in a room. We don't have those kind of shoulders for this work to fall on. And I'm not doing it for free. So I need to, and people that don't have AR, where does this fall? I mean, there's work that has to be done. We have some substantial work that needs to be done in the business work group. And, I don't have a lot of patience for how that's going to happen in my current workload. And I know a lot of us are really struggling with that, trying to reconcile this. So jumping in here, again, arguably late, into a number like 50 to 100, I have to tell you, for small campuses, this is a big concern.
So I'll just address that as best I can. It's a concern that we've heard. I just saw in chat that Norwalk has had those conversations, as well as a number of other spots as well. So it's an issue at the large and the small, and as you say, it especially impacts the small that doesn't have the faculty number to really populate these groups. The point that I would make here is just we're going to have these discipline groups happen anyways, and again, it's taking ownership of it, but also this is not, we're not looking for like a mandated, you have to serve on this, you have to serve on that, you're going to have to spend all these extra hours. A lot of this is we're asking the discipline areas, what do you want? Who do you want to be meeting with? Who makes the most sense for you to be meeting with? And it's basically just our department and division meetings that we're already having locally. And we're just asking you to have some of these conversations also statewide, which should help with curriculum development and with buy-in, rather than, as you say, like putting in all of this work on a proposal, pouring your heart and soul into it. As the chair of the committee that reviews them, I've seen, and I've been a part of that process a number of times myself. It's a lot of work, and it would save a lot of time at the end of the day if you're able to work with other faculty in your discipline and make sure that you kind of have that buy-in during the
To be clear,
process.
we did. And part of our SDC requires us, and that's what makes this process so arduous, is to go to all the other campuses and get buy-in. But if you don't get buy-in from the right people, or people weren't at the meeting, or people don't read their emails, people pop up at the last minute and they derail the whole process. And I'm really tired of it. And the reality is work needs to be done. People need to be compensated for it. And I don't see that really part of what we're advocating for here. However you chop up, the watermelon here, there's still only so much time in a day to get the work done. And people are losing appetite for doing stuff that doesn't seem to get past the initial levels, like SDC. We are busy on SDC. SAC, I have friends on SAC that we have nothing to do because nothing comes out of SDC. But we get barely compensated for the time that we're spending there. So thank you for listening to my concerns, and I don't mean to sound agitated about it, but I am, and I appreciate your listening and addressing our concerns here.
It's really important, Jen, and just so that you're aware, because if you weren't here at the beginning, you may not know that we're recording these, and these will be on the Senate website, hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow, certainly up by Monday. And one of the important pieces is to understand the problems. We know we are not fixing all the problems. What we are trying to do is make this incrementally better.
Well, I genuinely appreciate that, and thank you for organizing these. But the reality is, people need to be compensated for their time. This is extra work. There's a lot of work. If it's a small lift and there's 100 people in a department, that's not that much work for any one person to do. But if you have a limited number of faculty, like Rose was sharing, she doesn't even have a full-time accounting person. That load falls on her, as well as all the business work that has to be done. And there needs to be some equity. There needs to be some consideration in terms of workload, because you can't keep tapping the same people to be on all these system committees. Like at a small school, my friend and I would Rochambeau, 1, 2, 3, shoot, see who's got rock, paper, scissors, who's going to sit on these committees. It's exhausting.
Yeah. Okay. Hannah is next.
Yes, I just also wanted to report back from one of our department chairs, who says even now it's difficult for that person to hop onto the different SDCs because the departments have changed, and the person wants to give equal attention to the different departments that she's serving. And so she's spending multiple hours, hopping into those different discipline groups. And that was something that was brought up here.
So I'd like to hopefully not throw a wrench in things, because I do want to finish, have some concluding thoughts. And of course, more questions are welcome. But, one possibility would be to have college discipline groups, all faculty, meet once or twice a month, 0 to 3 times, I'd say once or twice, and develop curriculum and have curriculum proposals presented there, developed there. There was one on the history of Puerto Rico that just came in front of history faculty, and we voted on it remotely, and then to choose option C with a Curriculum Congress developmental meeting. First of all, send it out to the campuses, go to that additional meeting of the Curriculum Congress, and perhaps get it fast-tracked. Maybe we don't need CDCs and CDGs. So I'm just putting that out there as a possible variation on this. Anyway,
before you go on, I just want to say that the campus curriculum committee piece came in because we heard that campuses wanted more of a role, right? So all of the proposals were developed. Each of the options were developed to fill gaps that came up as major issues. if something was reported 2 or 3 times out of 250, that probably didn't rise. That did not rise to the level of warranting a proposal, right? So each of the options fills a gap that we heard from folks at the Shared Governance Summit, from leadership, and from the survey.
Right. Thank you. And I understand that. And I know that, I mean, you put in a tremendous amount of work on this, as well as Jason. I'm just saying that, you know, this isn't necessarily every possible option, right? We're trying to fill gaps. But one of the concerns is department chairs, program coordinators, you know, the workload burden that this may add to them. So if you did eliminate that CDC option and simply had the college discipline groups meet, and rather than SDCs, to develop curriculum, and then pass that on to either, you know, campus curriculum committees or a developmental meeting of curriculum congress, however that option goes. I mean, that would even simplify the process a little bit more. So that's just, I'm putting that out there as an amendment that might be made at Senate. And that brings me to my last point. And then we're asking senators to bring these proposals to their campuses, and in whatever form they choose, whether it's through shared governance, through surveys, etc., to get the sense of their cabinet on each of the 4 proposals, right? Mandating campus senates, growing the representation from 3 to 4 faculty per school, and then also being more discipline specific there. Replacing the SACs with 1 of 2 options, and replacing the SDCs with 1 of 2 options. So we're going to be asking campuses to vote, and then Senate will be voting. Senators will be voting according to the wishes, the sentiments of their campuses. And that is going to be at our February meeting, because these need to be submitted. These are simply recommendations to the CT State administration, but they need to be submitted in advance of the new contract negotiations. So, thank you, everybody, for your kind attention. Yeah.
Jen has her hand up again. Jen?
I don't want to go after his closing remarks. If we're adjourning the meeting, maybe I'll just talk to you privately. But you know, my note was that I just don't understand why it has to go back to the colleges. But that was just. But thank you, Alan. I won't interrupt. I won't. Thank you. That's fine.
Hannah's got her hand up.
I just wanted to say this, going back to the campuses, is, at least as I understood it, one of the reasons was that we wanted an earlier interdisciplinary feedback, because that was one of the problems that we had, right? I think what one of the models here, maybe we have to enhance that model a little bit more, is doesn't really make clear who gets to vote and who gets to just give input. I think that needs to be maybe also clarified.
I think it's clear if you read the proposals, Hannah. It's just, it wasn't, didn't make it onto the PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe we could get that in.
Well, this is our last.
In the next round.
Yeah, this is, I want to thank all of you for spending a Wednesday evening with us. We appreciate your feedback and your input, and I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.